Did you guys know that Kendrick Nunn is now the starting point guard for the Miami Heat and Tyler Hero's coming off the bench? Say what? We're gonna discuss all that and more on Waiver Wire Wednesday Watch. All right, guys, this is the talented Mr. Taco here with obvious Mike Little drop issues coming up, and I got Ricky on board for another edition of our Waiver Wire Wednesday Watch. As we were talking about with you guys last week on this segment, what we want to do is we want to get you players that are owned in less than 50% of leagues that may be of good value to you to add up for either the short term or the long term, and discuss some of the movers and shakers on the market. Ricky, how you feeling?
Hey, what's going on, man? Everything good? Watching the game.
Yep. Watching the game, that's kind of where I got this tidbit on this Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero statistic. But my main question to you to start off the bat with is on the waiver wire recently. I know that we have a couple of players that we're going to speak of,
Right.
but other than that, can you? Is there any been one in general that you've been looking at that's been pretty good? I know you mentioned someone to me about this morning. It's a little owned in more than 50% of leagues, but he's a good player that we wanted to touch on. You're mentioning him to me this morning, Nicholas Batum.
Right. Yeah, so Batum, sneakily has been good pretty much all season long.
Mm-hmm,
I know his percentage took a dip a little bit
mm-hmm,
because he got hurt.
mm-hmm.
But to me, he's someone that's been consistent all season long.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's like you said, he's 54. I think that's what
Yep.
he's been hovering around the whole time.
Yep.
And to me, it's still, for me, it's kind of surprising that he is, because if you look at his numbers, it's pretty much, like I said, it's been throughout the whole season. He's been giving you, especially in the category, if you're doing categories or head to head.
Yep, and I definitely agree with you on that. Nicholas Batum friend, I've had him on my team for a little bit. It's been an on and off again a relationship. But one big note about Batum is that we're seeing Paul George has been out for a little bit, and he's going to be out for at least 2 more games. So it's definitely opens up an opportunity and some shots for Batum to definitely be a decent player for you for the next couple of weeks. And that's why I wanted to touch on him in this quick segment. Now, one player that I had mentioned off the top was Kendrick Nunn. And I want to pull up his numbers here because Kendrick Nunn is a guy that we've been talking about. I've been talking about a lot over these last couple of weeks. I had him on my segment, I want to say about 2 weeks ago when I did This Week in Fantasy Basketball. But if we look at Kendrick Nunn, he's rostered in 41% of leagues. Like I had mentioned, he's just moved into the starter's role, and we see that being reflected in his minutes. As over the last week, he's averaged 32 minutes per game. He's shooting 60% from the field and 50% from the free throw line. He isn't getting you the most assists from a point guard with only 2 assists per game, but what he is giving you is points at 20 points per game and 3-pointers at 3-pointers per game with 6 rebounds. Now, with him shooting 60% from the field and getting you 3-pointers, that makes him a really vital contributor, especially coming out of your backcourt, and someone that I definitely would look at adding going forward, especially if Spoelstra's looking at having him in the lineup consistently. When Kendrick Nunn last year was second in Rookie of the Year voting. Okay, when he went into the bubble, he had COVID. He kind of didn't play as much as we
Right.
saw at the end of the season. Once Gordon Dragic got hurt, he really got time to shine. Again, Gordon Dragic is dealing with injury, and this has really opened up this slot for Kendrick Nunn. So I think for the immediate future, he's definitely a must-add. But that's one of the players that I have. Ricky also has another player here that we're talking about from
And
Miami.
and you know what? Just to touch on Nunn,
Mhm,
one I love, like you said, the biggest to me, one of the two hardest category, or not the hardest category to me, is field goal percentage.
mhm.
And he really helps you in that.
Yeah,
To me, that's one of the biggest things that you say you touched on there. If he's doing that and giving you that amount of threes, you can live with that.
yeah,
That type of shooter really helps your percentage through that week in order
yep,
to get it, because that's really great. And also the biggest, to me
mhm,
is for him getting starting position over,
yep.
Hero. That
And
that to me speaks a lot.
Yep, and we don't know how long that's going to last for, if it's just a quick little flip until they get Dragic back. But right now, he's been playing really solid, and we know that Miami is just a deep team that's not been winning, so they're looking at making some rotation. So we don't know what's going to stick. It could be a quick fix, or it could be a long-term solution.
Yeah.
That time will tell. But the next guy that we're going to talk about is someone that Ricky really likes from the Orlando Magic, and that's Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony's right now rostered in 49% of leagues. He's averaging roughly 27 minutes per game. He's shooting 84% from the free throw line, but 37% from the from the field. He's getting 1 3-pointer per game on average for the season. But if we look over the last week, his minutes have been bumped up to about 30 minutes per game. His field goal percentage has gone up about 10% to 47% per game. Okay, he's averaging 14 points, 4.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 1 steal, 0.7 blocks, which is kind of shocking from him.
Right.
3 turnovers, but he's getting you 1.3 3 points per game. He's been a pretty solid contributor, Ricky, and I'd love to hear more about him and why you like him as a pickup.
Well, to me, it's first off, he's getting the minutes, like we were just going over. He's definitely getting the minutes. If you look at the last, I mean, every game has been over 30 minutes, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There was one game recently where he had 29 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, he's been, when we talk about these waiver wires, I think we're talking behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
is that it could, like you said, it could be a long term or a short term. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm always looking for these positions. These guys normally are people who are able to flip.
Mm-hmm.
You can have them for a couple of weeks, but you're not
Mm-hmm.
hesitant to drop them if you know what, you see something else that might be better.
Mm-hmm.
But Cole Anthony's been doing well like I said, the last 4 games have been double digits. He's had his percentage has been, I mean, 3-point hasn't been great, 33, 66.
Mm-hmm.
But around the 33 range, like you were going over.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, again, it's someone that I like. I think going forward, he's on Orlando, a team that's really not going to do anything. He's going to play their young players. And again, for me, it's someone that is definitely worth the pickup. Like I said, I actually traded for him. He was a second player that I got in the deal. So to me, I just like the upside there. I think there is a better upside than what he's doing right now.
No, definitely. I think that Cole Anthony's just minutes per game alone is really going to give him an opportunity to have a solid, safe floor. I think his field goal percentage does kind of handicap him, and really it
Right.
depends on the kind of team that you've built. Where if you're punting field goal, you get a guy like that, he's an absolute layup. And for a lot of teams, I know that field goal percentage is not one of the things that they're really high in. So sometimes it makes sense to go with these guys, like him. Like another guy that he makes me think of is a Colby White, who's a maddening case to own, who I'm probably going to do a player profile on, because
Okay.
Colby White is just like, he shoots so bad, but yet he can get so many points, and he kind of stuffs the stat sheet a little bit, but he's so inefficient. And it's getting to a point with him where it's like, do you keep him? Do you fish or do you cut bait, kind of thing?
Right.
So,
And you do got to look, like I think you said a good, like if you're going to punt, then this guy makes sense, right?
yep.
But if it's one of your stronger categories and
Mhm.
it doesn't affect you to the point where, hey,
Mhm.
I'm losing now because of it, it
Mhm.
might make it closer,
Mhm.
right? But you think you still got that edge worth doing. Now, if you're in the middle, it's going to kill you and you're going to lose the category.
Yeah.
That's where you got to think.
It really
Is it
depends
worth
on the
the
makeup.
other categories?
Yeah,
Are
I
you doing
agree.
enough in the other categories to
Right.
overcome one that
Right.
you're punting? And another one is, I'll be honest with you, is on turnovers, especially if you're doing the points, because I know it usually, when it's categories, a turnover costs a 1 point, minus 1 point for every turnover. That does worry me as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the cool thing though, about points leagues, is that in points leagues you really worry less about the field goal inefficiencies, and you
Right.
really more can deal with um turnovers, because that's really the only negative that you get. That's
Right.
why I do have Colby White in one of a points league, where it's like I'm not handicapped by his horrible shooting. Same thing with Giannis, I have in that league. I'm not worried about his bad free throw shooting. I'm like, Greek Freak, just ball out, because I'm just going to get the points at the end of the day. And
Right.
that's where he really racks it up. It's definitely a big difference in strategy between the two settings. Now, for a player that I'm going to talk about that's a little bit less known, or I shouldn't say less known, but less owned or less rostered, I'm going to be mentioning Malik Monk. Right now, he's only rostered in 9% of leagues, so he's a very low flyer. Not a lot of people are talking about him. Not a lot of people looking at him. I think Malik Monk caught a little bit of how do you say it, momentum a couple of weeks ago. We're looking at the beginning of February 1st, when he hit 9 threes and scored 36 points, really blowing up in 40 minutes. But one thing about Malik Monk, because if we look at his numbers here, he's only averaging 20 minutes per game on the season, and the last week he's been averaging 28, so he's up obviously 8 minutes per game. One of the reasons for that is we're seeing Terry Rozier was out, and now that we see Dante Graham is out for a little bit. What this means is it's going to give him a short-term opportunity to really excel. He's hitting 43% of his shots. He's shooting 1,000% from the free throw line in the last week. 1.8 threes per game, 11 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.8 steals, 0.5 blocks, 1.5 turnovers. He doesn't absolutely kill you in a field goal. He's really good in free throw, gets you a good amount of 3-pointers. For kind of winging a prayer guy under 10%. I think he's a guy that could be a solid addition. As we know, I covered a couple of guys during this week in basketball. I'd mentioned Cody Zeller, who's about 52% owned in leagues right now, really getting an opportunity to shine and get a lot of minutes with the Charlotte Hornets. So he's someone definitely that I think could be out there as well to go with him. And then the other player that I was looking at is Hotel from the San Antonio Spurs, as we see Lamarcus Aldridge is out, and this guy is just mopping up rebounds. Problem with him is he has low free throw percentage, so he's one of those guys like Cole Anthony where he could really tank a category for you. But again, depending on how your roster construction is, these are a couple of guys that might be able to help you. And then Ricky, you have one last player that we're going to talk about.
And then just briefly about Monk, like you were saying, he's someone that also is able to get you those 20, 25 points every so often. Yep. I mean, even 30 points. I mean, Malik Monk, if you saw, he scored. I mean, Charlotte has a bunch of shooters now. They have a bunch of people where he's just not getting burned. But like you said, God forbid anyone gets hurt, anything happens, he can fit in there. He's capable of getting you 20 points. He's had 30, I think 36 points this season. So again, he's someone that's capable of doing something like that.
In his last 6 games, he scored double digits in all of them. And in those 6 games, he scored at least 2 threes in all but one. He had 2, 2, 0, 3, 9, 3. So he gets you threes. He'll get you some points. Doesn't really kill you anywhere. For a bottom of the roster fill-in, I think he's not that bad. But Cam Johnson,
he's 8%.
Yep, he's at 9%, 1% up in the last day, but 9%. So he's pretty low. But the last guy we want to talk about is the guy that Ricky was bringing up to me, Cam Johnson. He's rostered in 25% of leagues, 26 minutes per game roughly on the season. He's been at his season average for the most part, 43% from the field goal, 2.3 3 points per game. His points are a little bit up at 11.8 compared to his season average, and his rebounds and assists are also up. So he looks like he's on the upward trend. And Ricky, break down to everyone why you think Cam Johnson is a decent waiver wire pick coming up for their teams.
Again, when you look at guys like this, Steve, and you were just talking about someone with 9%, right? This guy's 25%. You really got to look at the more recent games, right? Even if you look at his numbers, like you said, throughout the whole season, everything's been slightly up from what he regularly does, right? And again, the second-year player, he's on a team that I believe, we all know it's really good, offensive, right? And to me, he's been getting the minutes.
And defensively, I think that the Suns are really underrated, especially when you have a guy like Ayton in the middle and Chris Paul. I saw Chris Paul getting Cam Johnson a couple of nice dimes in the last game on fast break. So definitely someone that's been pretty good. What you were saying,
and again, he's getting the minutes. He's getting over 30 minutes against someone, and these are the things that you have to look at if you're looking at someone at low. To me, it's always the most important because if they're going to get better, if they have a ceiling, if they can get better. The first thing is they have to be on the floor. If you're talking about guys that are getting 15, 16, no matter what their ceiling could be, it's never going to be reached because they're not even getting the time. Guys like this guy, like I said, he's getting more minutes. Again, the last 4 games have been double digits, 16, 16, 17, 11. To me, just a young guy that, again, he's on a young team that's offensively running the ball. I think he fits well. He's getting the minutes in there. And to me, the biggest thing is again, he's just again he's with Chris Paul, and to me, he's just going to get better throughout the season.
Mhm.
Now, like you said, we have to see in 2 or 3 weeks really what these guys are doing,
Yep.
and to see
And
if you're going to keep them or not.
And I think last year in the bubble as well, he really showed some explosion and showed some scoring potential. The kid can knock down the three. He could take it to the rack. He's a slasher shooter type who looks like he plays decent defense as well. So that'll keep you on the floor when you play your defense. So I think
Right,
that he's going to be a solid guy going forward. Definitely to at least keep an eye on, or possibly like I'm doing, maybe start him for a game or two, depending if you stream and what goes on. Because in one league, I have Paul George, I have OG Anunoby, I have Drew Holiday, and I have Marcus Smart. And all four of them right now are on the injured list because of either COVID or an actual injury. So, it's to the point where some of these times I don't want to just hold on to one guy, especially if it's not like a league where I have to be limited on my roster pickups. There's
right,
no limit to the amount of pickups. So literally every day I'm dropping and picking someone up because it's like you're not restricting me, and I need to bolster my points somehow. So if I have this free spot, obviously I'm not going to get the talent, so I'm going to fill it with quantity.
right. I'm in a similar situation. I just had it now. So when we talk about picking these guys up, you have
Mhm,
to have space.
mhm.
You're not going to pick these guys up and drop someone that's either on the
Right.
COVID list and they're going to miss a week. You're not going to do
If you
that.
could fill them in an injured spot, then you put the guy in the
Yeah, of
injured
course.
spot and then pick him up. But you don't drop a guy like that. I
You don't
agree with
drop a guy, right? So
you.
the biggest thing for me, though, I'm in the same situation that you had. I had to drop Hunter,
Hmm.
who in the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, he
He
might be out
was,
for the season.
yeah, he's 7 to 10 weeks. I dropped him.
Yeah.
I dropped even Lance Jr.
Mm.
He's out 6 weeks, and
Yeah, with the finger
I
surgery.
could have kept him, but the issue I have is I have other guys on the COVID, and I need to somehow get players in the lineup.
Try to get
And
a
those are
win.
the two guys that, hey, listen, I know they're going to be out for a long time. I have
Hmm.
two people in the COVID. I have Jackson Jr. I've
Hmm.
held him on for so long. This time, I'm just going to wait till he finally gets back, because I do believe in Jackson Jr. But anyway, so again, these are guys that if you have space, you're going to pick them up. You're not going to be dropping anyone.
Hmm.
Think about it. Remember, COVID is happening every week, so you have guys that are out for the week and you can't drop them.
Yep. And I feel like at least for this short period of time, it's going to be pretty bad. We're seeing it happen more often. Kevin Durant was a classic situation of this. He
Yeah,
tested positive, but then he tested negative, but then close contact. So he played the game, but they pulled him from the game. So I think things are going to be dicey for a little bit longer.
and
Hopefully,
they say
some
he's
back.
going to come back Friday. They're
Yep.
talking about him getting back, but again, that's a whole week that you're out
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
one of your best players, and you can't drop Kevin Durant.
Yep, and it just puts you in some bad situations, especially when you're trying to compete for playoff spots. Or, in my case, I'm 19-1 so far across all my leagues so far in basketball. So I'm just trying to keep this great record going on. So
Right.
I got some side reasons why I'm trying to win every week right now. I've never had a start like this. I had a humble brag it. But before we wrap up, guys, we wanted to cover some of the guys that we covered last week because we believe in accountability here. So we will not only tell you about players that each week that you should be talking about or looking at, but we'll also cover the ones that we covered the week before, kind of show you what we think about them and what the trends are and what you guys should do about them.
Right.
So these are last week's infamous players. And Ricky, I'll let you kick it off with Reggie Jackson. How do you feel about Reggie Jackson? What's going on with Reggie Jackson? What should the people be doing?
So Reggie Jackson, again, when we talked about it last week, it was basically to stream him while Beverly was hurt. And during that time, he did what he had to do. But again, I don't even Beverly's is not back, right? He's not even
Patrick
back yet.
Beverly is not back from what I
Back, right?
remember, and Paul George is out at least 2 more games.
Right. So again, I mean, it's dicey. I had him. I dropped him. But I needed to drop him. I had to take someone off the injured list. He was an easy let go. Again, it really depends on people's situation. I would suggest dropping him, because again, after that, he's had 3 bad games. He did do better on Sunday. before these three bad games, he had 5 games of double digits. Again, Beverly is out. Paul George is going to miss time. If you feel like maybe Sunday was, hey, he had a stretch of 5 good games. These are his 3 bad. Maybe he's back to what he was normally doing through that stretch of the first 5 games. Then you could maybe risk it, see what he does next game. But again, I dropped him. I had to get someone off the injured list, and to me, he was a no-brainer to drop at that point.
Mm-hmm. And then the other player that you spoke about last week was Jeremy Lamb from the Indiana Pacers. How you feeling about Jeremy Lamb?
Yeah, no, he's someone that you have to keep since his injury back. Since he came back on January 20th. I mean, he's had really, if you want, he's had 2 bad games. And this is a kid that's still just coming back. Like I said last week, he's found his spot on the team. He's found the minutes. And to me, he's possibly just to get better. So I definitely hold on to him. I'm not dropping him. I kept him on. If you were one of the people that kept him on your injury list for him to come back, I think we made the right decision. And I think it's someone that you just keep forward with.
Yep. And on that note, I would say that Jeremy Lamb over the past week is ranked 42 on season average. So his last 7 games, he's been averaging 2.53 points, 12 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.8 blocks, 0.5 turnovers, 538 field goal percentage, and 1,000 free throw percentage. The 2 players that I had up, one was Royce O'Neal, and Royce, he's still getting, a good amount of minutes. He's still holding steady. That was one of my big concerns about him, was his minutes dip. But he did have a little bit of a production dip. We saw him score in his last 3 games 2, 9, and 6. But he did have rebounds of 10, 1, and 6. He doesn't really kill you anywhere, but his field goal percentage has gone way down, which kind of makes me want to jettison him in categories-based leagues, because now he's shooting 36. Over the last week, he's been shooting 36%, 1.53, 7.3 points, 7.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Honestly, he's a guy that you can hold if you really don't have anyone better to pick up on the waiver wire. But if you tell me that I see a Kendrick Nunn and I have the opportunity to pick up Royce O'Neal, I would definitely make a move to pick up a Kendrick Nunn. With saying that as well, Emmanuel Quickly, someone that we speak about a lot on this channel, that I had mentioned 2 weeks ago as someone that was trending up. With the Knicks, we recently saw them get a trade for Derrick Rose. And we've seen that Alfred Payton now has started to maintain that starting position. So I think that when we look at Quickly, we have to look at him as he may not be able to break that glass ceiling this year, and we may have to temper our expectations on him and look at it where it's really going to be more of a situation where he's going to be a role player, and he may not be someone that you want to hold long term if there's a hot free agent like AKA a Kendrick Nunn. I would definitely do it. I did it. I dropped Quickly for a Kendrick Nunn today. Just because minutes wise, Nunn is just going to be out producing him minutes wise, and he's going to get more of an opportunity. As we saw, at the end of this last game that the Knicks had with the Miami Heat, they lost, but at the closing stretches, we didn't see Quickly come into the game. It's not like they're giving him this opportunity.
Before he was coming in the fourth, he was getting some late night minutes. But even before, people also got to see things change in the New York minute. Boom, Derrick Rose comes here. I know they came out together, they started, but listen, Rose came here and pretty much sealed the deal with Quickly. He even there before that.
He'll be a solid player. He'll be a pick up a stream, like playing for a game or two. But he's not someone that you can hold for long term.
But that's what I mean. Before you thought, hey, maybe I get something out of him, 22 points, 14 points. You know what I'm saying? He was getting the point. You're like, oh, if he gets the minutes. But again, even before Derrick Rose, you saw it dipping. Like you said, Payton has made his solidified his position. And pretty much you saw it going down. Derrick Rose pretty much just put the nail in the coffin. I have him. I'm dropping him as well. And pretty much,
if you don't have a better option, then definitely you can hold on to him. It really depends on what you're looking at, how deep your league is. But that's someone definitely I want to bring it because I know we cover him, and I just want to get the most information out. And the last guy that I covered from last week is Thaddeus Young, who on the current week is ranked 50. He's been moved up to 68% ownership, so I do like to see that he's been a huge market mover. He's been averaging 66% from the field, 42% from the free throw line, 14 points, 4.8 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 2.5 steals, 1 block, 2.3 turnovers. He's been a monster still. I would still hold on to him. And the sick part about what happened with Thaddeus Young is I had said, God forbid, Lauri Markkanen had an injury, and that even when Wendell Carter comes back,
Comes
Thaddeus
back.
Young may still have a role. Well, Wendell Carter got that injury that I hope that didn't happened. So this now opens up minutes going forward where you could see at least now a month where Thaddeus Young now is going to get concentrated ball time because of the simple fact that now you have Markkanen and Wendell Carter out. He's going to be getting a lot of burn. So if he's still available in your leagues, he was 60%, 8% rostered as of Tuesday night. Go pick him up, get him on your team, ride out the storm, and once these guys come back, see how the coach plays it and make your adjustments.
And depending on when they come back, he may have already solidified. Again, he plays like this. He might
Yep,
solidify his spot moving forward. Even when they come back, he might not go down the minutes again. You do have to keep an eye on it. But for right now, it makes no sense to drop him. For at least a month,
yep.
he's gonna if he produces this. I mean, it's a no brainer.
Right. And if his numbers start going down or start changing, you could definitely jettison him and make some changes. But the guy's basically averaging, 15, 5, and 4 with 2.5 steals. Like 2.5 steals and 1 block. That's ridiculous numbers for a power forward, and definitely someone that you want to add in your
And
team.
even if he starts bad, you don't have to drop him. You could just maybe bet him, not play him for a
Yep.
little bit, couple of games, see if it's just kind of rust or
Yep.
whatever. He hit a wall, and
Yep.
then you put him back in.
Yep.
Again, you don't have to always drop someone just because they have 2 or 3 bad games.
Yep, absolutely. But everyone, I want to thank you guys so much. Make sure you give a thumbs up to the video, subscribe to the channel. Contact us below with your roster questions about who you might want to pick up and start. Last couple of videos, we've been starting to get some more comments with user questions or viewer comments. So definitely, keep them coming. We'll keep giving you answers. Make sure you give us a follow on IG. We cover some of these players sooner, and we're able to get you a better in-depth analysis about your team because you can shoot over a picture to us, and we can answer those questions. But I want to thank everyone for your time. Ricky, thank you for coming on board today as we help everyone out with their waiver wire questions. Do you have anything that you want to leave the viewers off with?
No, thank you guys for joining us. Definitely hit us on Twitter, on Instagram. Definitely check out our posts. We have a lot of times gambling
Yep.
suggestions there.
Yep.
Take a look at it. We've been a couple of winners. Good day. It was a good night at Super Bowl. The
Mhm.
GOAT won. We also won there on a few bets. Check them out. And just thanks a lot for joining us.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful day and peace.